What is money? What is money? Currency. What is money? Freedom. What is money? Capital. It's a tool. Lifestyle. Concept. Good. I love it. We're going to give you a definition from the entrepreneurial world, what I consider money. Money is a certificate of a good deed. It's a reward for solving a problem. It's a reward for creating value in the marketplace. When you create value in the marketplace and then you create an offer to sell that value and you provide that value to somebody, you receive in return money, currency. How do we create that value? There are 4 levels at which we can do this. There are 4 levels. Figure out which one of these 4 levels your business is on as we go through these. There are the 2 lower ones that sort of have a limited income potential. There are the 2 upper ones which have more of an unlimited income potential. The lowest level of value that you can create for the marketplace in exchange for money, for currency, for income, is implementation. You're the person doing the thing. I'm the plumber turning the wrench. I'm the drywaller hanging the drywall. I'm the cleaning person cleaning the toilet. Whatever it is, I'm the person making the burgers. I'm the implementation. My resource that I'm using are my muscles. Right there, yeah, come on. Implementation. You're the person doing the thing. If your business is all about you doing the thing, in theory, you probably cap out as an employee in about $80,000, give or take. Anywhere from minimum wage all the way up to about 80K. The second level of value that you can create in the marketplace is you can be in the unification realm, where you're more in the management. You're unifying people to work together. You get into management, you're managing other people's muscles, you're using other people as the implement. They are the resource, their muscles are the resource. You are organizing that, you are unifying that. That income usually caps out about somewhere between $80,000 and $250,000, depending on who you're working for and what you have going on. Is your business in the implementation situation, or are you in the unification? The third level of value that we can create in exchange for money is communication. Communication could be, the words that you speak with your mouth, that come from your heart to help make people feel something. Peter is amazing at the communication side, help people tell a story. You could be a salesperson, you can make $100,000 a year communicating. You could be an A-list actor making $100 million a year if you're Denzel Washington or Robbie Downey Jr. or famous singer, one of these different people. Your resource as a communicator is your mouth. Now, why is the person who just speaks with their mouth, paid more than the person who's working their fingers to the bone? I can't tell you that. I don't have an answer for that, but that's the way it works. Fourth level of value, imagination. Getting paid for imagination. Getting paid for thinking so intently about your client's problem, more so than they have thought about their problem, that you're able to create and craft a solution for that problem, that it's cheaper for them to pay you to deliver the solution that you have agonized over thinking about for them than it is for them to A, try to figure it out for themselves, or B, just continue with life how it is. So of those 4 levels of value, which one is your position in your company creating in the marketplace? Where are you operating at? Which of those 4 levels? Because when you get into the imagination realm, that's where that really becomes unlimited. Where do these come from? There's a gentleman by the name of Myron Golden. He's all over YouTube. I love his stuff. He is phenomenal to listen to. These were ideas that I've heard about first from him. And where does he pull them? First of all, would you agree that these all make sense? This is like legit, right? Where does it come from? He pulled it out of Scripture, y'all. He went back to Genesis 1. He said, and the Lord God created imagination. He said, let there be light, communication. And then there was delegation and unification. He said, let the land produce the vegetation. Let the water produce the creatures. Let the land produce living creatures. And then let's make mankind in our image. Then he goes to Genesis chapter 11 in the Tower of Babel. He said, come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. Implementation. And they used bricks instead of stone and tar instead of mortar. They said, come, let us, unification, build ourselves a city, a tower that reaches to heaven so we make a name for ourselves. The Lord came to see what they were building. He said, these people are all speaking the same language, communication, and they've begun to do this, and nothing they will ever plan to do, imagination, will be impossible for them. I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. So when we think about where we are in our business, are we in the implementation stage? There's a part of my business where I am an owner-operator, which is an oxymoron like Jumbo Shrimp. How can I be a player and a coach? You don't see Andy Reid running out into the field, playing, blocking for his quarterback. It doesn't happen. Why am I, as the contractor, getting out there and still swinging a hammer? Well, that's just where we are in the business, and I'm trying to grow beyond that. Are you still being the player coach? Are you still running out into the field and doing the things that your people should be doing for you? So let's talk about what that looks like as we try to grow beyond being the implementer, doing the things with our muscles, versus being the organizer, the manager, the unifier, versus how can we get into the communication and the sales realm? And a lot of us have that role too. We're all here networking, doing the sales piece. And then how do we get into that imagination space where we clear our schedule, we shut off our phone, we lock ourselves in a hotel room somewhere, and we agonize so intently about our clients' problems that we come up with a very creative way to not only solve their problem, then create an offer that we can put in front of them that's going to absolutely revolutionize and change their world. And it's going to cost them more to not implement our solution than it is for them to hire us to fix it for them, right? So, how did I grow Cope Construction? How did we do $3.7 million in sales? How did I pay cash for 3 wrapped trucks and generate more leads than I have time, at least in our busy season anyways? 4 strategies, and if you want to write these down, it's the word atomic. A-T-O-M-I-C. Atomic. This is my Facebook strategy that I've used for 14 years that I'm finally putting down on paper and starting to teach folks how to do. I've got a private Facebook group. We're going to go more in this, but atomic. Number 1, A, be all present and appear to always be available, be ubiquitous, be everywhere, top of mind awareness. Be all present. Make it look like you are stinking everywhere. When you go on Facebook, where is Drew? Everywhere. Every message board, every posting, in my stories, on my business page, all the time. Every day you're going to see a post from me somewhere on one of those platforms. You're going to see me interacting with stuff. And I've got my clients interacting with us on our behalf, and some of you are in there recommending us and helping us out there. So if you're going to implement a strategy to help grow your business from the atomic standpoint, what I'm doing with this, make sure it looks like you are everywhere. Signs, lettering, going to events, being on Facebook. Make it look like you are everywhere. Create that top of mind awareness that when someone says insurance, you're the first name that comes to mind. When someone says printing, you're the first name that comes to mind. When someone steps in dog poop, you're the first name that comes to mind. When people talk about storytelling, you're the first name that comes to mind. And when someone says, I need more profit in my business, you're the first name that comes to mind. I missed a couple. Real estate, sorry. I'm trying to get there. All right, the T in atomic. Teach, train, coach, education, helping them discover. So a bunch of years ago, somebody gave me this advice. Create value in the marketplace. Give away value for free. So when these Facebook groups first came out, the first thing I did, here's the secret sauce, I got in there and I gave free advice. Someone says, I have this thing in my home. I wasn't saying you should hire me to fix it. I said, I would go in there like, hey, well, are you doing this or are you doing this? And I'd like give some input and some ideas, and I'd send them a YouTube video from somebody else. And I just give input. I give 3 or 4 paragraphs. After about 2 or 3 months of this, people started saying, Drew, will you shut up? No one wants to read your stuff anymore. And it was under competitors what it was. But I just kept creating value. And I did that for 3 years, just answering stuff that even if it had nothing to do with my wheelhouse, I was giving input. I was being the community expert. I was helping my neighbors find the resources that they were looking for. How can you do that in your business? How can you get into the West Grove area message board, the Kennett Square area message board, and create value? Maybe it's directly related to what you do. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just establishing yourself as an authority. Jeff Sanders and his wife have done a phenomenal job with Talk About It Tuesday. Every week, they're getting hundreds of views of videos of them interviewing other community leaders, and it's establishing them as the community resource, as the expert. It is phenomenal. What are they doing? They're teaching. They're sharing. They're being a resource for everybody in the community. How can you do that in such a way that it gets you attention on your business beyond just I do mortgages, beyond just I sell insurance, that you really are the person that's in there? Now, does it happen overnight? No, it's a long-term play. You've got to put time at YouTube. For me, is a long-term play. I've been 3 years building that channel, but I now have over 500,000 views. I'm now getting a call per week, somebody asking me from Indiana, hey, can you help me with this thing with my house? Someone calling me from Rhode Island saying, hey, can you help me with this? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. O is organize a system where you can get in a half an hour a day and do this Facebook thing. Organize a system. Come up with a set of tabs that you bookmark that you can click and open. It opens all 6 message boards that you're following, whatever. Pick the ones you care about the most, and you just go in there and you do a quick search. Or save the link to the search. Search West Grove area message board for insurance and get all the posts and sort it by most recent and save that as a favorite. So when you open the tab group, it automatically just flies for you, right? Same thing with real estate or the dog poop thing and whatever it happens to be, right? Organize a system, make it easy, and then create those meaningful interactions. M is the meaningful interactions, where you're giving valuable input, valuable advice, happy birthdays, happy anniversaries, all that stuff. Why? Because you want to be everywhere. You want to be ubiquitous. You want to be seen all the time. I is for inquiries, and that's where you look for those opportunities. You're searching for questions. And then the C is to collaborate and network and do what we're doing here today. So if you're making $600,000 a year and you want to make $1 million a year, your gap is $400,000. How do we close that gap in business? One of my mentors taught me this system, and I love this. It's called FRAP, F-R-A-P. Frequency. If I could increase the frequency with which a customer hired me by 15%, that would take me from 600,000 to 690,000. And then if I could get the number of referrals that I get, and I could increase those by 15%, that would take me from 690 to 793.5. And if I took my average ticket prices, the A in FRAP, take my average ticket prices and increase them by 15%, because Lord knows inflation's gone nuts, that would take my 793.5 up to 912.5. And if I could raise my, that was the average ticket prices. So the average ticket prices, let me explain that a little bit better. The average ticket prices is you go into a house, and for my sake, maybe I'm going in there, you're going to go in and you're cleaning dog poop in the backyard. But while you're there, you also deodorize something else that you really had nothing to do, or you come in and you do a treatment, you do spot cleaning on the carpets inside or something where Fido did something, right? You can add another service onto that, right? Or you're selling brochures and like, hey, I got the brochures, would you like a shirt too? You're increasing the average ticket price by adding another service on, not raising the prices, just adding the service on. Can you do 15% more like that? And then the fourth one, P, is the pricing, and that's where you raise your prices 15%. You do all four of those things: frequency, referrals, your average ticket price by adding on value-added stuff, and prices. If each one of those four categories go up 15%, you close the gap from 600,000 to $1 million. Can we do all four of those right now in an instant? No. Can you do one of them in the next 3 months and generate an extra 15% of revenue for your business? What would that look like? If there was a money lever that you could pull and put $1 in and get $5 back out, how many dollars would you put into that machine? A lot, right? Many as I could come up with. This is some of what I'm working on the imagination side. We talked about the 4 levels of value. I am trying desperately to move myself into the imagination realm, continuing with construction, but adding this other layer to what it is that we do. And so we're building a system with these money levers, with 10 money missions to help our companies grow by 15% in each one of these areas. Right now it's $500 a month. We're still in the kind of the beta, figuring it all out stage. Once it goes live, it's going to be $1,000 a month. They're working on a chatbot right now that we're trying to implement. Right now that's included. Eventually it's going to have a $5,000 implementation setup charge just to get this integrated into websites. So we're kind of on the leading edge of some of this stuff. How many people here know how many leads you got last month? Show of hands. How many people know what your close ratio was on those leads? How many people know what your cost of acquisition for those leads were last month? So so now you have an idea for what I can spend on advertising based on, here's how much it costs me to acquire a client, here's how many leads I'm going to bring in, here's what my closing ratio is. I know what I can spend on ads or paid. Now, everything I just talked about was nothing to do with paid ads. Everything I've done to build this business, I've spent like next to nothing. Occasionally I boost a post, but everything's been word of mouth. Our loyal tribe of Raven fans is just word of mouth, serving the snot out of what we do to help make sure they have a great experience. So where can we in our businesses figure out what that lifetime value of the customer is, figure out what that average ticket price is, what it costs to get them in, and then do a really good job of choreographing the sales process. I watched this video the other day. It was phenomenal. You've seen Bar Rescue, right? TV show Bar Rescue. The guy comes in, he said, if you bring a client into your restaurant, you have a 40% chance of a second visit. They make the second visit, you have a 40% chance of a third visit. You make the third visit, they have an outstanding experience, you have a 70% chance of retaining them. So here's how you do it. Choreography. How can you do this in your business? The first visit they come in, the hostess says, is this your first time here? Well, yes, it is. Oh, great, right this way. Let me take you over to this wonderful table over here. And you put a red napkin on their table. And everybody on your staff knows that's their first time there because there's a red napkin on the table. And they create an outstanding experience, and the manager comes up to them at the very end of the meal and says, how was your meal? Oh, it was great. Well, did you try the chicken? Oh, no, here. He pulls out a business card in the back. He writes $5 off chicken on your next visit, and he gives it to him. He says, give this to the hostess when you come in the next time. Hostess comes in, is this your first time? No, we were here before, and I got a $5 coupon for the chicken. Great, come on in. They take a blue napkin. They put a blue napkin on the table. Everybody on that restaurant staff knows that's their second appointment, their second opportunity at that restaurant, and they're going to treat them like kings and queens. And they're going to have an amazing experience with them. At the end of that experience, the manager's going to come up to them and say, hey, did you have a good time? How was your meal? How was everything? Great. Did you have enough to eat? Are you full? You got to try our cheesecake. Here's a free cheesecake the next time you come in. Now you sold to the third visit. The third visit, they come in, they show the cheesecake coupon, you put a different color napkin on their table, you have an amazing third experience with them, and you have a customer for life because you have a 70% retention once you get to that third visit. How many of us sell to the first visit and we never sell to the third? How can we, in our business, every business in here is different. Construction is completely different than restaurant, completely different than real estate, from insurance, from mortgages, from the whole thing. But how can you take these principles, how can you add more choreography to your sales process to help you go from where you're at to where you want to be at the end of this year? So some of the things that my group is working on is a 10 money mission accountability and implementation program. We're going to work through that. One of the things that I'm personally working on, and maybe this is an idea for you, we talked about home field advantage. When Peter and I first talked about home field advantage and I hired him to help me dream this thing out, it was initially about helping clients here who were going to hire a cheaper contractor to do work in their homes, and I just wanted to be the angel on their shoulder to help make sure they didn't get ripped off. This has morphed in the last 6 months to now I'm getting a call per week from somebody who saw me on YouTube. So what if instead of me just coaching local folks, what if I suddenly opened up my territory to the entire 50 states and did a Zoom call with somebody, and they go to a website and there's a video that orients them to what home field advantage is and how we can benefit them, and then there are 3 price points at the bottom, and they can pay the money and they can book an appointment, or they can buy a package of appointments, and I will do a video walkthrough with them in their home using my brain instead of my back to earn me money, sitting at my desk doing a 50-minute Zoom instead of out there swinging a hammer, and getting paid 2 to 3 to 4 times as much for that Zoom call as I do in an hour swinging a hammer. And I've just opened up my territory. I'm no longer limited to that little sweet spot in southern Chester County along the Route 1 corridor from Nottingham to Kennett Square. I am now in all 50 states. And are there anybody else doing what I'm doing? Not that I've found. How can you do that in your business? How could you take you love helping someone who's not even your client. How could you get paid I don't know what the rules are in insurance, so don't get me on compliance, but could you set up a thing where you consult with people? You've been through a miserable claims process. How could you take that experience, write a book, do a seminar, do an evergreen webinar, do something that completely opens that up, where you're taking your experience and you're coaching people in Indiana and Ohio, and no, you can't speak to the insurance rules in that state, but you can give general concepts and principles to help, right? How can we take what we're good at, what we know? How can we take marketing, branding, marketing, design, great, maybe you can print stuff and mail it all around, but could you also consult? Is there a way that you could get paid to do? Where in your business can you take these principles of communication and imagination, the higher 2 levels of value, which pay exponentially more than implementation and unification, and use it to grow your business? YouTube was a long-term play for me. It took 3 years to get it to the point where it is now. We're finally monetized. I'm making a whopping $75 a month. But every month, that's increasing by 10%. Where's that going to be in 18 months? It's a long-term play. We bought a house with some rental property. It's a long-term play. But the 5 years is going to pass anyways. I might as well work on it now. I might as well do it, because in 5 years, I'll be better off than if I don't. If I don't, I'll be exactly where I was before I did anything. What can you do that might be a long-term play? What can you do to increase that 15% in one of those 4 areas? What can you do to get into the level of communication, to get into the level of imagination? How can you agonize so intently over your client's problem that you solve it for them, and then you build an offer that looks so amazing because you frame it in the terms of what it's going to cost them not to do this versus how affordable it is to pay you to just fix it for them, and how much money you're going to save them by them hiring you. How do we grow? Who knows what EBITDA is? Am I saying that right, Mike? EBITDA? EBITDA? Okay. Mike, I'm not going to try. Would you, in 30 seconds, explain EBITDA to us? You're basically trying to figure out what your business is worth. And if I were going to sell it, if somebody was going to buy Cope Construction, I ain't selling. But if I was, maybe I'll buy somebody else's business out. If you know somebody who's selling, if you know a contractor who's tired of working for themselves, want to come work for me, we should talk. I am hiring, by the way. What if we grew our business? What if you took duty calls and you grew that to maybe duty calls is not your life calling. Maybe you grow this for 3-5 years. You get a massive team underneath you. You get trucks going, and you get your EBITDA up to some ginormous, amazing number. And now you've grown it. Now you've scaled it, and now you sell it, and now you switch into your next, even more leveraged business. Because right now the business is you and your muscles. How does it become you coordinating other people's muscles? And then how does it become you just being the sales guy and you have managers to do all that? And then can you switch out of that into a more leveraged business that creates more income for you? Now maybe you don't want to switch. Maybe you're really happy and you're going to stay there for life. But what if we could switch out? You know, great, I've grown this book of business. Now I'm going to sell it. Now I'm going to leverage up to the next more leveraged income class that allows me to do more stuff. Okay. If you want to learn about the Atomic 6 stuff, if you want to get into the course that I'm teaching, Atomic 6 at copebuilt.com. And